Hello viewer, the Nameless Scholar here, and welcome back to more Age of Sigmar lore. In this video I will be talking about the Sons of Behemat. Before I begin, if you want more Age of Sigmar lore videos, check out my channel and other videos. I would be grateful if you liked, commented and subscribed as well as shared this video. My purpose is to prove that Age of Sigmar is more than just the game that killed Warhammer Fantasy. The Sons of Behemat are titans of destruction, the children of a dead god beast by the name of Behemat. His tale is convoluted, contradictory, and shrouded in myth, as with all of the origins of the Force of Destruction. They have been around since the Age of Myth, eating like ogres but consuming even more than them. Their life is not as easy as the others, because there aren't many caves for them to call home due to their gigantic size, so they are constantly exposed to the elements. Like all creatures of destruction, including to a point goblins, they revere Gorka Morka, whereas for the ogres, the twin-headed god is known as the Gulping God. For the Sons of Behemat, the most accepted depictions are either a gigantic two-headed orc, or a pair of huge, warty, and hobnailed feet. One is stompy but kicky, while the other is kicky but stompy. Despite being dim-witted as ogres, they have a surprisingly deep knack for culture and storytelling. The reason why their history is shrouded in myth is because they pass down history orally amongst one another, should they come across another Gargant on their travels. Aside from that, they all know the same origin story. During the Age of Myth, there was a god beast referred to as Yumnog. Yumnog is the grandfather of Gargants. It was so large that his drool would form rivers. The three children of Yumnog, Gorg, Amagorag, and Behemat planned an escape from his body. When he slept one day, they brewed a moonshine that was as vast as a lake for their father to drink, and when he woke up, drink deeply he did. Behemat escaped, but Gorg and Amagorag didn't because they were brawling on Yumnog's tongue. Behemat punched his father's tongue to get them out, but it was too late. They were swallowed by him, and the teeth of Yumnog formed the first mountains. This is similar to the Genesis in Norse mythology. From the heat of Muspelheim and the cold of Nilfheim, merging in the void between them, emerged the giant Ymir, alongside the cow Audhumla. The cow fed Ymir with her milk as Ymir sweated the first giants, or Jotun, while he was sleeping. Audhumla licked away at the stray ice forming from Nilfheim and discovered another being, Buri, encased in the ice. It is unknown how Buri, a male, had a son through unknown means. He named his son Bor, while Bor married a giantess named Bestla, and they had 3 children, Vili, Ve, and Odin. Ymir was a being of chaos, and under his rule there would be no peace. So Odin and his brothers killed him and used his corpse to create Midgard, and while Midgard was created, his flesh became the earth, his blood became the seas, his bones became the mountains, teeth became rocks, skull became sky, and brain became the clouds. From the cosmic order that came from Ymir's death, the other realms were formed with Yggdrasil, the tree of life. The short mythology lesson aside, I wanted to show the parallel. Just like how Buri conceived his son Bor, Yumnog's fate is left ambiguous, but it is implied that he was killed by Behemat, or at least became irrelevant. Given the tendency for violence the Forces of Destruction have, I believe that it is the former. Behemat had a rivalry with Gorka Morka, essentially calling the twin-headed god Sigmar's lapdog, because when Sigmar showed him a god beast, Gorka Morka would kill it for him, and worse, Gorka Morka knew that Behemat was right, and he grew jealous of the god's independent streak and started to challenge Behemat. He drank deep from Hish's gleaming bay, and when the water flooded back, the port city of Omnitopia was destroyed. He then dared Behemat to replicate the deed. Behemat did so. In a way he didn't expect, let's just say. He tripped over a fjord, belly flopped into the Girdle Sea, and submerged the elven city of Araxia.
Brilliant!
Another tale involves Gorka Morka slaying a nest of Gigadroths. Gorka Morka challenged Behemat to block the supervolcano that these creatures came from. He did so by ripping off a mountain by the name of Krolosid and blocked the caldera of this volcano, which is named Volcatrix's lair. Shortly afterwards, angry dwarves spilled out of it and Behemoth stomped on them and flattened them like they are cartoon characters. So much so that it is said that their descendants have not recovered from this fracture. And there are many, many more. The most important one was when Gorka Morka challenged the world titan Behemat to defeat Sigmar in combat. He failed, but he didn't die. He had no fight left in him, and as he collapsed, he simply fell unconscious. Soon, Gyron, the realm of life, overtook his body, and he slept for millennia, becoming a part of the realm of life itself as new lands formed over his body. But before falling unconscious, it is said that the first children of Behemat came out of his mouth, just as Behemat had come out of Yumnag's. Although they were as brash and belligerent as the Greenskins, the sons of Behemat were considered to be less temperamental and were best avoided rather than interacted. As the age of chaos raged on, the sons of Behemat didn't care. They ate, slept, and went on with their lives until the pipsqueaks in spiky armor started bullying them. Some were overwhelmed and killed, others were bullied or agreed to join on the side of chaos for food. Some migrated away from the legions of Demon and hosts of Archaon. However, nothing would prepare them for what would happen during the Realmgate Wars. Archaon had corrupted the unconscious Behemat to either corrupt him or control him just enough in painful frenzy to smash open the gates of Azir. How exactly Behemat died is unknown, as the details have been overtaken by allegory and myth. However, what is certain is that the pact between the God King and the twin-headed god was fulfilled, and Celestin Prime struck down the World Titan with divine spears known as the Great 12 Bolts. Behemat's demise manifested differently in Gargants. Some were overtaken by a strange melancholy. Others were driven into rage, smashing everything within range. In the years that followed, some of the giants grew in size to titanic proportions. Then, a theory started circulating amongst his children that there must always be a world titan, which is why they are growing in size, and that to inherit the world, they must prove their worthiness with a bit of the old ultraviolence. They know the Soul Wars as the Soul Wars, as in Soul of the Foot. It was when they all learned that trying to squash Chaos Warriors without sandals is like stepping on small tiny Legos, and paid little attention to Nagash's meddling. However, they turned their eyes on Gur when the Rite of Life began. This led to Gur tearing itself apart, and this manifested as thumping in their skulls. For the longest time, they thought that some idiot magicians did the unthinkable and tried to resurrect Behemat, even though, no, it was just Kragnos. With his escape, some of the Gargants were eager to accept him as the World Titan. Others, especially one King Broad, was not. For Kragnos wasn't even a son of Behemat. He doesn't even have feet for Gorka Morka's sake. He has hooves, and see Kragnos as the ultimate challenge to take down to become the next World Titan. The Arrow of the Beast was annoying enough for them. They barely got any sleep. Then the Pipsqueaks started moving into their territory with their Dawnbringer crusades, only making them angrier. However, the smarter, and I use the word smarter loosely, Gargants realized that the settlements they found would be easily a free meal for them. They would wait for them to grow in size just enough for them to feed them for a day. The reason for this is that they have appetites worthy of titans, because they are titans. Due to the abundance of megafauna, most sons of Behemat are located in Gur, the realm of beasts. They have a respect for nature as long as it is untamed, and the pipsqueaks don't venture far out to found their stupid settlements. Because if it is not them destroying it, it is either the orcs, goblins, ogres, or many available natural disasters that are common in the realm of beasts. However, Gargants also tend to keep some of the animals they would eat as their pets. They are by nature vandals. They use the things they vandalize to find their path. These things include, and are not limited to, deep footprints, half-eaten carcasses, tribal cairns, henges, and clumsily locked over things. Although most Gargants are located in Gur, for it embodies their philosophy of mightier makes rightier, and survival of the fittest, the birthplace of Gargants is Gyren, so there are also a fair share of Gargants there, mostly sorry. Chamonite Gargants are known to threaten the pipsqueaks to forge them giant shiny armor for them, and what little Gargants there are in Azir have reconciled with Sigmar and joined his side. But ultimately, all Gargants deep down have a longing for Gur. How is that possible, you might ask? It is due to what is called the Great Secret among Gargant kind. It is a moment of vast enlightenment, that any Gargant that receives it is essentially seen as Buddha, who was enlightened after meditating under the tree. A revelation so grand that they are essentially geniuses by Gargant standards. The Great Secret is they can work for the one that will give them the greatest source of food or some other reward they can use.
Brilliant!
Azerite scholars like to call Gargant tribes catastrophes, but they call it a stomp. It is similar to a family, even if one didn't literally birth the other. There's a head elder, backed up by their siblings and offspring, and any other local Gargant willing to support them. The leader is referred to as the Big Heel. His closest subordinates, cronies, rivals, and drinking buddies are referred to as Under the Heel, which is the sole of the foot. Then there are the man crushes, which are essentially the toes. There can be any amount of man crushes in a stomp. Some stomps can comprise entirely on Mega Gargants, but they have a hierarchy of might makes right. Despite this, unlike the other forces of destruction, the Sons of Behemat are not cruel by nature. Whereas the orcs, goblins, and ogres have no empathy, even towards their own species, and in the case of the ogres, where they are cannibals by nature. The older Gargants will take the younger ones under their wing and act as mentors. The Gargants are highly individualistic despite this. They usually do not care about the titles the pipsqueaks give them, unless they have done enough mercenary work to know the lingo. Despite all of this, a stomp still ultimately boils down to a cult of personality. One other thing that separates them from the other forces of destruction is that they are highly territorial by nature. This also leads them to think if they see something it is theirs to take because they are big and strong. It doesn't matter if the pipsqueaks were there first, they are squatting at a place the Gargant wants, therefore they are wrong. Although as not as boastful and arrogant as elves, the Gargants are also boastful, and even arrogant at times, as well as curious. And if they don't accrue culture like ogres do, they are willing to learn the culture of those they work with. In fact, it is implied that Gargants can fall to chaos should they align with them for mercenary work for long periods of time. This is the time I talk about the sub-factions. Well, not really. Because the Sons of Behemat don't have sub-factions. Well, they sort of do, but it depends on the Mega Gargants leading the tribe. So, there are Smasher tribes, Taker tribes, Stomper, and Breaker tribes. The Smashers follow in the footsteps of Kragnos, the Ender of Empires, the Beast Smasher. The Taker tribes are the looters. The Stomper tribes live for nothing but battle, and the Breaker tribes are those that particularly despise civilization. What type of tribe they are is again essentially dependent on the Mega Gargan leading it. Well, I will start off with the Beast Smasher Mega Gargans. These ones are more susceptible to Wah energy than that of their other kin, and they are seen as odd by the others. They hear thumping in their head and they can get rid of it via three ways. The first one is getting drunk by drinking copious amounts of grog. The second one is by stomping and hollering away, venting at nature, or three, fight anything really. They claim that Wah energy essentially opens a sort of third eye. Those narcissistic enough think that they are Gorka Morka, and this Wah energy can also drive them mad, to the point they can see the world as it was in Behemat's day. So these Mega Gargans sort of know how the Age of Myth was better than any more alive than the mortal realms, but asking them would probably lead to getting squashed. Now, because of this, Beast Smashers believe that they are the closest to Behemat, for they are carefree, can smash anything they want, and can be as unhygienic as their father. They prove this by hunting for gigantic beasts like the twin-headed god did during his days in the Age of Myth. And as they fight, they have reflexes that would surprise anyone, weirdly enough, given their size especially. Only the most punishing blows can even make a dent in their skin. Meanwhile, they are essentially going,
I'm fucking invincible!
Then there are the leaders of the Taker tribes, the Kraken Eater Megagardens. Although they are particularly solitary, they prize loot even above their own solitude. They live near coasts and make sea caves their home, where they can be alone with their thoughts, away from the pipsqueaks. However, the pipsqueaks that happen to serve the forces of order are more likely to negotiate with them. For the Kraken Eaters know that they are much more likely to leave them alone, except those times the ship has mistaken their bald head sticking out of the water to be an island. However, pipsqueaks is not their preferred source of food. What is, however, are giant fish and mammals that inhabit the sea, which they prefer to gorge on, while the use of giant trees or ship hulls as breathing apparatus. A Kraken Eater will occasionally accept companionship of other Gargans, but their true friends will always be the loot they salvage from shipwrecks. The Kraken Eaters propose that not everything the pipsqueaks make are useless, especially items with magical qualities if it does the magic for them. And if that's the case, all the better. Then there are the War Stomper Mega Gargans, which for them, violence is not a question. It is a solution, and the answer is always yes. Unlike their Beast Smasher kin, this comes more from a desire to be like Behemoths, independent but big and strong rather than be guided by Gorka Morka. Despite their bloodthirsty nature, they have a basic understanding of tactics, and generals who think of them as slavering brutes with no higher comprehension have suffered for making such an assumption, because they also have comprehension enough to grasp the concept of the Great Secret. What makes War Stompers particularly dangerous is that they teach the Man-Crushers underneath them what they know, such as using their arms to protect their vital organs from arrows, or jump above charging cavalry, or throwing mud at them to stop their momentum. They are also cunning enough to sometimes attack settlements they are supposedly in truce with, and supposedly under the employment of as mercenaries. Are you one a bit surprised that the Stomper tribes are the ones that work for the forces of chaos the most? Then there are the Gatecrusher Megagargans, whose hatred of civilization runs deeper than the others. They use a flail made from wreckages of fallen cities. They call these flails Fort Crusher and use it to tear down walls of a city. Aside from a hatred of civilization that runs deeper than the others, the Gate Crushers also attack to eat the populace. Their territorialism and a desire to take revenge from Sigmar and the Order Pantheon driven by nothing but wrath. Sigmar is a fraud who hides in a star castle in Azir, while props up the weak in their lands, and just despite Sigmar, they oftentimes work with the force of death, which their cowls, imitating Sigmarite executioners, is oftentimes gifted to the Mega Gargants by them. And the Gate Crushers also tend to have more pale skin and gaunt features because they often work with Force of Death. And finally, everyone else. The plebeians. The Man-Crusher Gargants. Although not as big as their Mega Gargant kin, they are not to be underestimated. Even a young one is as tall as a domicile and can grab a fleeing settler with one hand. When left to their own devices, the Gargants fall to gluttony, drinking kegs of fungus ale from the Moon Clans or eating livestock of humans, alongside megafauna, because they have no natural predators. Because again, unlike the ogres, the sons of Behemat are not cannibalistic in nature. However, it is not uncommon for them to still practice cannibalism, more as a way to assert dominance and not to actually feed themselves. Whereas for the ogres, it is both as well as a malicious intent, and it is also to feed themselves. If they offer something to the Mega Gargant and they like it, the Mega Gargant will take them under their wing, and the smaller one will follow them. Despite the Mega Gargant getting the biggest share of the loot, the Gargants gain something they didn't have before: purpose, which is whatever the purpose of their idle Mega Gargant is, and one day to become just like them. So the cycle can begin anew, and the next generations of Gargants can also be taught the ways of Behemat and Gorka Morka. Well, anyways, guys, this is going to be it for this video. I'm the Nameless Scholar, and surprisingly enough, the Sons of Behemat are actually a rather fun faction lore-wise, so this is a welcome surprise. Until then, I see you in the next video. Didn't make sense, but whatever.